So Hang Tuah, I already discussed this yesterday, so I won't have to go through it again. Just that the probability that Hang Tuah was also Singaporean is underlined by the fact that this was the Jajahan of the Sri Bijidi Raja, who was the Laksamana. So then these are some more things about Hang Tuah and the fact that he appears not only in the Chinese records, but also appears in the Okinawa, Ryukyu records. So after the last of the Changhe voyages, then there was a period of about 70 or 80 years when China cut itself off from the outside world, burned the ships, burned the records, didn't let any Chinese out, nobody was allowed in, although people did sneak out anyway. But Okinawa became the main intermediary between China and the outside world. And there's a crease which has been found in the royal temple near this castle on Okinawa. It's in a 15th century location. It's past the 15th century stratum. They didn't make crease in Okinawa. This may be one of the oldest creases ever discovered. None, of course, have been yet recorded from Malacca because there's been no excavations in Malacca. We found a crease-like item on the banks of the Singapore River at Empress Place, but we can't be sure it was a crease or not. So there are 2 letters from the Laksamana of Malacca in the archives in Okinawa. At least 2. There may be more, but 2 have been translated into English so far. And one says that he, the Laksamana, sent a ship to Champa, South Vietnam, where it rescued 2 Ryukyu men who had been involved in a fight with the Vietnamese. We don't know the context. What were they doing there? How come they got in a fight with the Vietnamese? But the Laksamana saved them, sent them home again, and he wanted rewards. He wanted a sword. Obviously, he was a military man. He wanted a sword. Maybe he wanted a Chinese samurai sword or something. Japanese samurai sword, a bow-adjusting tool, whatever that was. So he's an archer as well. Maybe something for a crossbow, we don't know. And he wanted a saddle for a horse. So these were things he asked for as rewards for saving the Ryukyu people. 1481, he got the presents. They gave them to him. So he actually did fulfill his request. He sent a thank you letter, and he sent back some presents. Maybe the crease was one of the presents he sent back. So the fact that the Laksamana wrote letters directly, conducted his own foreign relations for Malacca, instead of the Sultan, is very unusual. So obviously there was a Laksamana who was really a strong personality. And that's the crease. So the Japanese are working on it. And I think today or tomorrow there's going to be a conference in Kuala Lumpur about this crease. They were planning one. They were going to invite the Japanese over and they were going to discuss the circumstances of the find. But it's obviously a very typical Malay crease, the way with the blade and so on. And it's found by the Japanese in the quite well-dated layer in this royal temple. So it was in the royal temple. So obviously there was something really important going on there. So why would Singapura be the Jajahan? Obviously because of the naval power that was around here. Singapura, the name drops out after the 10th chapter of the Malay Annals, but we keep getting Ujung Tanah instead, where Singapore gets put together with Johor and Riau as part of the whole Sijori. Sijori already existed back in the 15th of century. So he was still alive when Albuquerque came. He was estimated to be 80 years old, so he would have been the same guy as wrote to Ryukyu in the 1480s. And he had moved back to Singapore. This is where I suspect he came from. So these are all circumstantial pieces of evidence. But together they add up to a very strong case that you can make that Hang Tuah was actually from here. So this may or may not be his grave. We don't know. There's no label on the grave. But it says to be Hang Tuah's grave. It's a very long grave. It's got all the stories about Hang Tuah, the various legends about him on the signboards there. The fight with Hang Jebat, and so on and so on. Though